Good evening and welcome to the program. First tonight, his trail of heartbreak stretches across Australia and even overseas, selling kit homes and investment properties that never seem to materialise, using aliases and other people's identities to wreak financial havoc, and always staying one step ahead of the law. Well, last week it would seem his luck ran out, and we were there to see Matt the Rat bundled off to jail, all thanks to an Adelaide pensioner and his lawyer. Matthew, long way back from the Philippines.
We chased him here.
Do you have any idea how many people you have ripped off?
We chased him there. For 5 years, we chased him. But last week, we stopped chasing him because Mathew Nair was finally caught, and we were there to see him bundled off to jail. But it wouldn't have happened if it wasn't for an Adelaide pensioner, an IT expert turned lawyer, and a Queensland cop who hangs on like a dog with a bone.
We've been robbed.
Our life savings are gone, basically.
Bernard Egan and wife Rita came across Mathew Nair when they wanted to extend their Blackwood home, ordering a kit home from one of Mathew Nair's companies, GBL Homes. Needless to say, it never arrived, and Mathew Nair made off with more than $70,000 of their money.
On the internet, we found that the previous company, Australian Steelkit Homes, the directors Jessica Wilson and Mathew Nair had been fined $465,000 for lack of supply, breach of contract, supply of Steelkit homes.
So Bernard contacted Darren Cruz, a former IT expert who had decided to change careers and study law. Bernard knew him from his local RSL. This wasn't normally the kind of case Darren would take. His area of expertise is wills and estates and family law. But he had trained in the federal court and had skills in IT that would help bring Mathew Nair to justice. But even he still had his doubts whether Nair could be caught.
Because he lives in Queensland, the companies are registered interstate, and he appears to be now living in the US.
To get Nair into an Australian court, he first needed him in Australia.
It was his brother that assisted us by posting on his Facebook page evidence that we were able to geolocate through Facebook that he'd actually been in the country. And once Queensland Police knew he'd been back here, they took an interest and took steps to make sure that he was apprehended when he came back into the country.
But getting Nair into court in one state when the victims were in another took some lateral thinking too. Fortunately, Darren had spent some time training in the federal court.
It's a matter of public record that we resolved it by taking our matter to the Federal Circuit Court that can cut through all of that cross-jurisdictional issue, because the federal courts can ignore all of that state stuff.
There's a non-disclosure agreement attached to the terms of settlement between Nair and Bernard Egan, but he now has a whole host of other problems. Since he first conned Bernard, Nair has been busy, opening up dozens of companies, both here and overseas, and conning people out of millions of dollars. This is a list of the companies Nair has been linked to, 37 in total. And he has operated under a number of names too. He was originally known as Matthew Bradley Willaims and changed it to Matthew Michael Nair, interchanging his given names when it suits. But when that doesn't suffice, he takes other people's identities too.
It's interesting that he's still allowed to open companies after those Office of Fair Trading convictions in Queensland. I'm quite surprised that that was that the ATO or I.S.K, or I.S.K in particular, didn't take an interest at that time.
We contacted I.S.K, the Australian Security and Investments Commission, and the media unit there informed us they have a no comment policy. Makes you wonder why they bother with a media department at all. Regardless, it's pretty obvious Nair isn't bothered by I.S.K, and they haven't halted his mounting tally of victims. Maybe they consider him too small.
It's not just about stealing money or attempting. It's also about misuse of identity. It's a matter of public record that he's changed his name, and we had discovered evidence that tended to indicate that other people's identity were being used.
Take Nair's Ausbuild company webpage. Stephen Richards is actually Stephen Richards, a software salesman from Brisbane. And Bill White, the engineer, is really a real estate agent from the US. Neither have ever had anything to do with Nair. His arrest last week was on 8 counts of fraud and extortion relating to a housing development on the Gold Coast. There is too a long list of creditors who say Nair owes them in excess of $1.6 million from a failed building company in Townsville. More than 100 businesses left out of pocket. And we know the victims are from right across Australia.
N1 Homes went into liquidation. I think that happened late October. From there, I suppose, things have nearly come to a standstill purely because there's no funding available to investigate what's really happened with the collapse of N1 Homes.
Kylie McElroy runs a scaffolding business with her husband. They're owed over $70,000.
We didn't feel the effects immediately, but we're starting to feel them now. You know, that's your cash flow. It's tied up, which is making life uncomfortable.
Mathew Nair has increasingly become more sophisticated, using companies and other people as directors to hide his involvement.
He was having direct dealings with subcontractors. Some subbies had been warned about not dealing with him, and that was a Mathew Nair.
And as the company that owed Kylie and others money went into liquidation, Mathew Nair continued to live the high life.
We always say, I don't know how these people live with themselves, but I think that they live with themselves quite well. You know, I think he enjoys what he does. I don't think he has any conscience at all. He's got no ethics, no morals, no integrity.
Police are now looking for as many people as possible to come forward who have had dealings with Nair or his wife Jessica or any of the more than 30 or so companies linked to Nair. Because while he's not much of a builder, he's very good at destroying lives.
I'm aware of at least one marriage that's broken up, and I suspect there are probably more.
It's just sickening, really.
Oops, watch your head.
And Nair's back in court on the 19th. Let's hope they keep him in jail.